Partisan politics in high gear ahead of Thursday's White House health care summit. Now that President Obama has rolled out his own nearly trillion-dollar plan, some Democrats are already talking about going it alone. They would potentially use a controversial parliamentary procedure to pass the president's plans for health care reform without any Republican votes. Joining us now for a fair and balanced debate, Democratic National Committee Communications Director Brad Woodhouse and Republican National Committee Communications Director Doug Heye. Welcome to both of you. Doug, you've had a day or so to look over the president's plans. What do you think?
Well, it's amazing. What we've seen is it's really like about an 11-page outline. You know, I've read comic books that are longer, but there are some details in there. We know it's $1 trillion. We know that there's $500 million in Medicaid cuts. We know there are $500 million in tax increases. And it's why, while the process is important, that Republicans have been shut out, that voters have not been listened to, what's really important is that we focus on what's in this bill. And it just doesn't look like something the American people want.
Brad, the White House had a couple of options, obviously, after the election of Scott Brown from Massachusetts. They could try to break down the bill into smaller pieces and get smaller legislation passed, or go sort of whole hog. It appears that they've gone whole hog. The president's plan very much mirrors what the Senate passed. Is that the right way to go, do you think?
Well, John, I don't think that's a fair assessment. What they decided after Massachusetts and after the president met with Republicans in Baltimore was that, yeah, let's try to have a bipartisan process. And I don't think anyone can say that the president hasn't tried to do that. I mean, he's had them up there for a bipartisan meeting on the jobs bill last week. He's asked them to come and bring their ideas. And I would say to Doug, and I would say to the Republicans, bring your bill. The White House has offered to have the GOP post its version of comprehensive health care reform on their website and bring it to the White House on Thursday. But 9 months into this, we haven't seen a plan from Senate Republicans, and the one plan that we saw from House Republicans was overwhelmingly defeated in the House of Representatives in the fall. Now, if that's the plan that they want to bring and they want the White House to post, I'm sure they'll be glad to do it. But let's not put the cart before the horse. The president put out a plan as a starting point for this discussion. Now let's see what the Republicans can bring on Thursday.
Well, for instance,
or are they going to continue just to attack the president's ideas?
For instance, Doug, it seems that both parties pretty much agree that pre-existing conditions should not prevent you from being able to buy health insurance. Is that something that Republicans could agree on?
You know, we certainly hope so. And I would say to Brad, who is a friend, and, you know, we're both from the Tar Heel state, we do have examples of comprehensive legislation that have been introduced. Senator Richard Burr, my old boss from North Carolina, has introduced that with Tom Coburn, who's a doctor. But what we've seen over the months is that even where there are areas that could possibly be agreement, the White House just isn't willing to do anything to take that step forward. That's why at the Republican National Committee,
Doug,
we put a petition together.
The summit on. But, Doug, we're having the summit on Thursday. I mean, this is an opportunity for them to bring that. If it's the Burr-Coburn bill, bring it, post it on the White House website.
If I could finish, that's why what we've put together at the Republican National Committee, which is on GOP.org, GOP.com, is a petition to just scrap this and let's start from the beginning. Maybe if we can do that, we can reach some bipartisan compromise, which is really what we want on Capitol Hill. Brad, Republicans will tell you,
well, John,
you know, while we've been shut out, it's also voters who've been shut out.
Brad, John, you mentioned the.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned the Republican approach. Doug couldn't even commit that the Republicans would support getting rid of discrimination based on pre-existing conditions. The Boehner bill that was voted on in the House in the fall didn't even go that far. So, look, if Republicans are serious about comprehensive reform, lowering costs, curbing insurance company abuses, they'll bring a bill, they'll put it on the White House website, they'll put it on their own, and they'll have a full-throated discussion at the White House on Thursday. And look, that's what the president wants. He wants a full-throated, transparent discussion of the way forward.
The last polls that I saw about Americans' opinions of health care reform, there were 54% who said they don't like this bill that the Senate had passed. The White House basically said, oh, they don't know enough about it, they've heard too many lies. After a year of discussion, if you've got the bully pulpit of the White House pushing this thing forward, if a majority of Americans don't like this bill, are you still right in trying to push it forward?
Well, John, let me just say this. I mean, you have polls and I have polls. I mean, Kaiser came out with a poll today, said 58% of Americans would be angry if Congress failed to pass health care reform. And on all the individual elements, getting rid of pre-existing conditions discrimination, on lowering costs, providing tax breaks to small business, every individual component gets 68% or higher support. So we need to do a better job, and we're going to, of selling the components of the bill. But the individual components make up the whole, and the individual components get 70% or better in the polls.
We have to leave it there. Brad Woodhouse.
You know, John, polls are polls, but two Democrats, Governor Richardson from New Mexico, Bart Stupak from Michigan, have said that this plan is unacceptable. So if the Democrats can't really get their own house in order, it's amazing to see that they're throwing stones at a glass house and blaming Republicans.
That's Doug Heye from the Republican side. Brad Woodhouse. We have to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you both.
Let's do it again.
All right, we will.
We'll take a look. Police in Texas have released some video of a pretty wild police chase.